Welcome home, America. You've been gone long enough. My name is Andy, and this is my wife, Jen, and we're so glad you're here. Now, tonight is about something bigger than curriculum. It's about coming home.
Coming home to faith, to family, to identity, and to the heritage our children deserve to inherit. We believe America is at a turning point. Families all over the nation are stepping out of the old system, reclaiming their calling, and choosing a better way to raise and educate their children.
So tonight, you're stepping into a movement of families who are rebuilding America one household at a time. So from our family to yours, welcome home. Slide. Work for us. There you go.
Okay, before we go any further tonight, I want to introduce you to the Turning Point USA family. Many of you recognize the logo the moment you saw it, the Turning Point USA logo, along with the Turning Point USA Faith and the Turning Point Education Association.
Now, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point have spent years awakening a generation, helping young people find their voice, stand for truth, and love this country again. But every movement eventually asks a deeper question. What happens next? What happens when convictions turn into responsibility, when ideas turn into homes, when a generation grows up and starts raising children?
That's where we come in.
So the Under God Project has spent years doing the slower, quieter, and foundational work, forming families, restoring order in the home, and rebuilding education around faith, identity, and heritage. We are an independent organization and an official associated partner with the Turning Point Education Association. Roadschool America exists at the family level of the Turning Point mission. So if Turning Point rallies the students, we raise the families who raise the next generation. So when you saw that familiar logo in the mail paired with ours, it wasn't a rebrand, it's a handoff from movement to marriage, to motherhood and fatherhood, to homes that pass truth forward on purpose. Tonight, you're not just meeting a school, you're stepping into a family. The Under God Project and S'mores and Stripes family. Formal cousins with the Turning Point USA family, and we're honored to welcome you home.
Before we talk about curriculum, micro schools, or logistics tonight, I want to begin in the right order, the same order that we use with our students and our families: identity, roots, and calling. The world teaches children to start with performance. What can you do? How can you compare? How do you measure up? Road School starts somewhere very different. We start with identity, who God says our children are. Before achievement, before labels, before pressure, identity. Before pressure, identity. I said that wrong. From identity, we recover our roots, our heritage, our family story, the virtues that shaped America, and the faith that shaped those virtues. From identity, and when children know who they are and where they come from, their calling begins to emerge naturally. So before anything else tonight, I want to ground us with a short devotional reading from the Book of American Virtues. Just a moment to set our hearts in the right place and remember why we're here. We are here to rebuild families, to restore virtue, and to raise a generation who knows who they are and whose they are.
So here's the Book of American Virtues. It's a book that my wife and I put together after years of gathering descendant stories, descendants of the 250 national heroes outlined in the National Garden of American Heroes. We've interviewed many of them, from Richard Henry Lee to descendants of George Washington, through the Custis line, Thomas Jefferson's line, etc., etc. All of those interviews can be found at Under God Project YouTube channel, undergodproject.com. But we've come up with 13 American virtues that built our nation, 13 virtues that the next generation will need, including honor, courage, grit, and more. This is Paul Revere. It was April 1775. The night was black, the air sharp. Paul Revere wasn't a soldier. He wasn't famous. He was a silversmith on a borrowed horse. His job? Simple, not easy. Warn the towns. Rouse the militia. Get the word out before the British choked the revolution in its cradle. He spurred his horse and set off into the dark. Hooves hammered. Hooves hammered the frozen ground. Lanterns flickered in windows as he passed. Every mile carried risk. Patrols on the road, capture, the hangman's noose. But he rode on. At each town he shouted, "The regulars are coming." Doors flew open. Men grabbed muskets. Bells rang. Then Revere wheeled his horse and pressed on again. Lexington, Concord, one village after another, through shadows, across bridges, past British scouts, faster than fear could catch him. His warning wasn't elegant. It wasn't polished. It was loud, urgent, relentless. That's grit. Grit is what makes a man ride through the night, town after town, until his voice is raw and his horse lathers beneath him. Grit is knowing the task is simple, but not easy, and doing it anyway. By dawn, militias were already gathered, muskets loaded, lines drawn. And when the British arrived, they were stunned. This wasn't a colony half asleep. This was a people, awake, organized, ready. Revere's grit had carried the alarm, and within hours, the first shots of the revolution, the shot heard round the world, rang out. Grit is the stubborn will to keep moving when quitting would be easier. It's the resolve to finish the ride. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Each devotional has reflection questions that you and your family, you and your family, whether in homeschool or just at home, can review together. Reflection questions like, where in my life do I need grit to keep going when I want to quit? What small but steady task is God calling me to ride through faithfully? There's also road trip spaces you can visit, and then, of course, a guide to determine how your family history is related to each of those 250 national heroes. Identity is part of our education.
So as a Turning Point Education Association school, that's a mouthful. Everything we do begins with a clear foundation known as the 5 C's.
So these aren't buzzwords, they're boundaries. And they shape the culture of our curriculum and program. The first is Christian. Truth begins with God. Our curriculum is providential and unapologetically Christian. God is the source of truth, prosperity, and transformation.
Every subject begins and ends with the truth of biblical scripture. Science reveals God's order. History reveals his hand. Literature reveals his heart. Education rooted in Christ forms wisdom, not pride. Children who know truth recognize lies and live with more clarity. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
The second principle is conservative. Preserving what is proven. Yes, this is political because family and identity itself are. Conservative doesn't mean frozen in time. It means we preserve what works. Divinity, American roots, identity, virtue, morality, excellence, capitalism. We hold fast to the moral, spiritual, and constitutional foundations that made America strong. Our students study history not to tear it down, but to redeem it.
We teach virtue, responsibility, and gratitude for the freedoms that we've inherited, because a nation that forgets its foundations cannot sustain its future. So the classical, teaching children how to think. Classical education trains the mind through the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Children must first learn what is true, then why it is true, and finally, how to communicate truth with clarity and confidence. That restores the lost art of deep thinking, critical thinking, and beautiful writing and persuasive speech, forming leaders, not followers. Collaborative is the next one. Families, churches, and teachers together. Education was never meant to be outsourced. In our model, pastors, parents, and professors work together from the family. Families study together at home. Churches reinforce truth and character. Teachers guide learning and mastery. Children thrive when the voices shaping them are aligned, when the home, the classroom, and the church are pulling in the same direction. Cost affordable. Stewardship, not elitism. We believe an excellent Christian education should be accessible, not exclusive. Our family model, built around the home, keeps costs low while the standards remain high. Cost affordable isn't about cutting corners. It's about stewardship, ensuring faithful families aren't priced out of forming their children well. Moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful.
So those 5 C's give us clarity, but for this generation, clarity alone isn't enough. It must be carried forward with courage, structure, and responsibility. So we add 3 additional gateways or commitments that define how this shows up in the home. First, MAGA forward. This isn't nostalgia, not politics as entertainment, a generational responsibility to rebuild America, starting with the family. Second, biblically structured families. We believe strong nations are built on strong homes, with fathers who lead, mothers who anchor, and children formed with clarity, order, and purpose. Third, train them up. Parents are the primary disciplers of their children. The school supports the family. It never replaces it. The final value we look for in families is courage. Not always loud courage. More than online courage. Not reactionary courage, but the quiet, enduring courage it takes to live differently day after day. I'm just going to say that again because I think that phrase is important. The quiet, enduring courage it takes to live differently day after day when the culture pushes the other way. We are looking for 45 families in your neighborhood who know their calling. Families who recognize that the Lord has brought them here on purpose, because reclaiming education, restoring order in the home, and forming children in truth will require nothing less than great courage. It takes courage to stay disciplined when others choose ease, courage to be strict when the world calls it harsh, courage to hold the line when the culture demands compromise. This is not about being combative. It's about being steadfast. Courage is refusing to bend the knee at every passing trend. It is choosing obedience over approval, conviction over comfort, formation over convenience. Courageous families understand something simple but costly. If you do not intentionally shape your children, the culture will gladly do it for you. So we look for families willing to stand, not in anger, not in fear, but in faith in the Almighty God. Families who believe God still calls households to rise. Now, everything we do here begins with family formation. Before education, before institutions, before nations, God established families. That's why the Family Compact and the Under God Project are not an add-on, they are day one. This is included as the first day of orientation and the first step of our curriculum, because education cannot be built on a fractured foundation. Education flows out of the family. It's never meant to replace it. See Deuteronomy 6:7. Institutions are established by delegation, not dependence. When the family is ordered, schools, churches, and communities can function rightly. The Family Compact is voluntary. It's a voluntary national covenant, a kind of family constitution where parents intentionally commit to ordering their home under God. This idea is not new. Our great-grandfather, William Brewster, helped draft the Mayflower Compact, the first governing document of our nation. It wasn't written by presidents or kings or pastors or prophets. It was written by families, covenanting together under God. That truth still stands. God makes families, families make nations. So before we ever talk about subjects, schedules, or academics, we begin by forming the family. Because when the family is established, everything else can finally stand. Now, at the heart of our curriculum are 2 foundational sources: the Book of American Virtues and the America Begins at Home Under God Library. They're built on a simple truth. You cannot have a country without virtue, and you cannot have virtue without God. As Charlie Kirk often reminded us, politics alone cannot save a nation that has lost its moral core. Laws don't create virtue. Institutions can't manufacture it. Virtue is formed in the home.
The virtues we teach come from the lives of the 250 American heroes, drawn from the National Garden of American Heroes, men and women whose faith shaped their character and whose character shaped the nation. But this is more than history, it's identity. As families study these heroes and their family history connection to them, something powerful happens. They begin to see themselves in their stories. Children recognize that courage runs in families. Parents rediscover the leadership begins at home. And families start to understand that the same virtues that built America are meant to be lived again through them.
Now, our mission is to preserve the legacy of these heroes, not as distant figures, but as living examples, told through the voice of their descendants, reminding families that greatness is not rare. It is inherited, cultivated, and passed down. That's why this library is called America Begins at Home, because the family is where virtue becomes habit, where identity is formed, and where God is invited again and again into the life of the nation.
When mothers and fathers teach virtue at the kitchen table, they don't just raise good children, they renew the soul of a country.
This is how America is restored, not top down through policy, but home up through families who know who they are, whose they are, and what they are called to pass on.
Now let's talk about the curriculum itself, because what we teach matters, but why we teach it matters more. At Roadschool America, education is not about information transfer. It's about formation toward calling. Every child is created with purpose. Our curriculum is designed to help them discover it, not manufacture it. That's why we organize learning around what we call the great callings, the ways that God has historically shaped men and women to serve, build, lead, heal, create, explore, and govern. Children don't just ask, what subject am I studying? They begin asking, what am I being prepared for? Literature, history, science, civics, and the arts are taught through the lives of American heroes, not to idolize them, but to see how virtue becomes excellence, and how excellence becomes impact. Underneath every lesson is a simple formation framework we call DRIVE. D for divinity. God is the source of all truth, wisdom, and order. R, roots. Children learn where they come from, family, faith, and American heritage. I, identity. They discover who they are in relation to God's story and their family's story. V, virtue. Character is trained deliberately. Discipline, courage, responsibility, and integrity. E, excellence. Children learn to do meaningful work well with purpose and stewardship. Drive ensures that learning never becomes hollow or disconnected from life. Knowledge is anchored. Skill is directed. Character is formed.
And before we talk about numbers or location, it's important to understand what our micro schools actually are. So every Roadschool America micro school operates with 3 academies under one unified model. These aren't separate schools, they're formation stages designed around where a child and a family truly are in their homeschool journey. The Washington trailhead, or the Washington Academy, is where families stabilize, identity is reset, foundations are laid, academic habits, spiritual order, and confidence are rebuilt. So if you're a first year homeschooler, and everything seems overwhelming, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just pulled my kid out of school because there's crazy stuff happening at school, what do I do? That's Washington for you. We have our foundational courses. They're particular to our curriculum. So we have our own, as we talked about, our own curriculum that we pull from. It's all proprietary, and it's all unique to our formation system. So Washington is about the family that needs a foundation. Sometimes if you've been doing homeschool for years, like we have and many have, sometimes you just kind of need a reset, refoundation. Sometimes there's some disruptions in your home. So Washington's really, really great for that. It's low prices, and there's even a family cap on the pricing, etc. So it's really good for a foundational set for any reason that you're in, whether you're a new family, new to homeschooling, or you just need somebody to help you handle it for a little while. Kennedy Kennedy is all about ascension. Kennedy is where students begin to stretch with identity, where they begin to stretch. With identity secure, they pursue excellence academically, creatively, and intellectually. This is where, if you're a homeschool family, you've already got your rhythms down. You kind of know what you're doing. You don't really need a handheld, or you don't really need your foundations laid yet or anymore. You already know what you're doing, and you're already well established in doing it. This is where families come together and they'll do things that you know that you can't do in a homeschool environment, like labs, like learn together, group learning, group projects. In each of our micro schools, as you can see there, the picture that we have up here is where we are in a one-room schoolhouse. So this is where experiences come in. We have all of our courses, all of our school is built on an 18-week course structure. And at the end of that 18-week course structure is a capstone. So whether you're independently learning at home or you're learning in a group session, in a group setting in our micro school, you have an opportunity to, in your capstone, you have an opportunity to share that with others. So you have an opportunity to, do some public speaking, do group sessions, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got Washington Foundations, Kennedy Ascension, and then Jefferson. Jefferson is about mastery. This is where mastery and leadership truly emerge. This is legacy level formation. Students thinking beyond themselves toward responsibility, service, and calling. And you can kind of take a look at this one from a perspective of the first two are what the family needs. The last one is what does the individual need? They already know what their calling is. They know that they want to be a builder. They know they want to be a writer. They know they want to learn at the feet of the master. So this is where we actually leverage our Turning Point group, our Turning Point network. And we're able to do a lot of very interesting things here. It's a little bit more expensive, but this is where we master the calling you're going to do. So we have people come in and they'll do specific tutoring, whether they're for achieving academically or they are for one second, we just lost something. Whether they're for achieving greater academically or they're for, like trying to get into a particular higher education, or they're looking to get to more trades, getting into more of the trades like mechanics or welding, a whole bunch of other things. So this is where a lot of that individual education can work. Also, this is where lectures happen. So when we want to learn at the feet of masters, we can leverage our Turning Point network and bring in speakers. So there's different stages at different points for where a family is in their homeschool journey. Again, one needs foundations, one needs ascension, and one needs more mastery around that calling. Same standards, same values, same missions. Across all three academies, we create a clear rhythm and order to the day. Students do wear uniforms, not for conformity, but for clarity. Uniforms remove distraction. They reinforce belonging and allow students to focus on who they are becoming, not what they are wearing. So this is actually really important because we notice this with our children as well as with our students. When they're wearing their uniforms, they just act differently, right? They've got cute little, we've got our S'mores and Stripes, Class B t-shirts, I guess you could say. And then we have our more formal clothing. These are more for, these are appropriate for museum visits that we do or outings that we have, no matter what it is. Or as well, our physical education hour of the day. So our academic day is built around a 4-hour formation block. This includes devotional time, direct instruction, discussion, guided work, collaborative learning, exercise, and a MAHA time, so Make America Healthy Again, and an exercise time, a presidential fitness test time as well. So it's focused, disciplined, and intentional, designed for depth, but it's not designed for burnout. Learning is anchored in road school experiences. And this is where the whole journey comes to life. And one of our most unique things that we do. Curriculum is amazing. We build on the 250 national heroes. Our devotionals are amazing. We've got our own virtues. We're the only one to claim that America actually has its own virtues, even though it seems like it's kind of obvious. If every country is aware of virtues, what makes American virtues unique? That's what this is. So we're truly unique there. But one of the things that we are very unique on is our road school experiences. We, as individual families, they experience outings on their own that are suggested, and we give them a long list of things that are associated to their homeschool, to their curriculum, their subject. And then sometimes we'll even go at times about once a month, we'll go together on a road school journey experience. And sometimes we'll just learn in different environments. So for example, again, this picture here is our one of our locations. We're actually learning in a one-room schoolhouse. And so we meet there, and it's such a blast. It is such a blast. Education doesn't stop at the page. It's lived. Students move from the book to the world through travel, fieldwork, service, hands-on projects that connect learning to real places, real people, real responsibility. I could talk for a long time. We could talk for a long time about the follies of digital education, and although we have some of that in there, learning, hands-on is just so different. Actually visiting the monument where it's cold outside and your ears are freezing, and you can see your breath, and looking at how the grandness of Mount Rushmore, or the magnificence of something, or standing where Paul Revere stood, looking at the trees that George Washington saw. Like it's just amazing to say our experiences, our outdoor experiences, are part of the education. It's not a field trip. It is a core part of it. Our academics are structured in 18-week courses, each moving students through the classical stages of learning, grammar, logic, and rhetoric within each subject. Okay, so actually it's within each course. So students first learn the material, then reason through it, and finally express it with clarity and conviction. So every course culminates in a capstone project. So the last 2 weeks of every course, there's a capstone project where the students, with its parents, are putting something together and have an opportunity to present. And the micro school gives them that great opportunity to present in a unique way. And because culture, where am I? Every course culminates in capstone project, yes, where learning is demonstrated, not just tested. Okay, this is how calling begins to clarify, and this is very important. As they not just learn about things, but those capstone projects are actually really, really important because they start to solidify what they've learned. One of the things that I didn't put in the script here, but I want to touch on is every subject has the first 2 days of the subject are all about family history. How am I related to the person that's teaching me this? So this is Thomas Edison teaching me math and electricity. This is Albert Einstein teaching high-end math. This is Mark Twain teaching reading and writing. All of those things are in our courses. But at the beginning of each, a student explores their identity in relationship to Mark Twain. So, how am I related to this person? Is he my third cousin? Am I directly related or whatever? That identity, as they're going through this 18 weeks, and that subject is stretching them, they have a person to look to. They have a Wilbur and Orville Wright, a Paul Revere to look to and say, they mastered that. They have virtue like me. I'm an American. I am a child of God. They are my cousin. If they can do it, I can do it too. And now this learning becomes so deeply oriented. It's very difficult for them to fall away from those. So because culture matters, that's how calling begins to clarify and deepen. Strength emerges and confidence grows. Education becomes formation, not performance. And because culture matters, we don't open micro schools based on hype or speculation. We open when families are ready. Our national baseline for each micro school is 45 committed families. This ensures stability, shared values, momentum from day one. This is not a school chasing scale. It's a school built for permanence. So I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but I'm gonna keep going. So let's talk about McKinney. This past November, McKinney ISD closed 3 elementary schools mid-school year. This is huge. Not because families disappeared, not because there was, a demographic issue, not because demographics changed, but because enrollments declined. Families are choosing differently. They're looking for stability, formation, and values they can trust. And that's why we're opening here. This is the second micro school where we've opened in McKinney. This is the one that we're opening in this particular neighborhood for families who are ready to build something lasting. We are currently gathering our founding cohort of 45 families. That number does matter. It ensures shared values, cultural stability, and momentum, as I said. And once that foundation is in place, we open enrollment more broadly. But this first group helps set the culture, carry the vision, and anchor the school. So if you're listening tonight, or maybe you're listening the next day, thinking this is what we've been looking for, the next step is very simple. Send us an email and begin the application and interview process. Ready to apply, McKinney. That's all you need to say. s'moresandstripes@gmail.com. That lets us know where you are. And we'll start the process for you. It's actually quite simple. We jump on, have a quick chat, go through a couple of things. We'll go over pricing. And our pricing starts as low as $350 and can go up to $950 per month. It does have family maximums. And as enrollments increase, or as commitments for enrollments increase, we can squeeze that number. We try to squeeze that number as cost affordable as possible, so that we can get the families, get as many of our families in as needed as we can. So we try to be as committed to cost affordability as possible. But the reason why it's not shown is because it ranges from $350 when we're at max. But as we begin, we need those numbers a little bit higher so that we can get more marketing through and get moving on. So as we close tonight, I want to remind you of something simple and powerful. God makes families. Families make nations. For many of us, this moment represents coming back to what matters most: faith, family, identity, virtue, and the heritage God entrusted to this nation.
What you're stepping into with Roadschool America is not just education. It's restoration. It's discipleship. It's national renewal through the family. When families learn together, they aren't just studying America's past. They're rebuilding her future, one virtue, one child, 1 mile at a time. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for choosing to invest in your child's identity and calling. And thank you for being a part of a movement that is rebuilding America through the family. From our family to your family.
Welcome home, America.